What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is July 16th of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, I want to spend some time to try to break down all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the recent comments from Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, and spend some time to explain why this isn't a supposed war on Bitcoin as it appears to be, and more of a war on the Libra, as we take a look at the broader macro perspective. So we've got lots to discuss in the video, guys. Let's go ahead and jump right into it by taking a look at the market. As you can see, over the last 24 hours, most cryptocurrencies right now are in neutral territory between 1 to 2% to the upside or downside. This has been off of a recent rebound in markets as we tested down towards, yet again, down below 10,000 for Bitcoin. We've escaped back up towards the upper $10,000 range, and some altcoins have recovered as well. Now, as we talked about as well, and we'll take a look at here in just a moment, altcoin market cap has rebounded back up here over the last few hours. We weren't able to hold it for total market capitalization around $300 billion. The one thing that worries me is the recent peak out here topped out around slightly below $300 billion. Again, I want to take a look at this more on the chart. I guess we don't really get the best picture here taking a look at the generalized line chart. But we can see here on Bitcoin dominance, again, it's still steadily increasing over time, guys. It doesn't show any serious sign of wanting to turn back. And again, with any kind of trend shift, guys, if you guys are looking to go long on altcoins and make any substantial increases, again, I've built up a small position. I think the risk to reward profile is good at this point for me personally with the positions that I picked. However, at the same time, I am definitely looking to add a bulk more to altcoins in this case once I see a trend shift. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about a good 1.5 to 2% drop in Bitcoin. And when we see that drop in Bitcoin, which is probably going to be an actual substantial price drop in Bitcoin, I want to see altcoins leap up. And it's really going to depend on a good set of investors actually investing in altcoins at the same time, or starting to get that sense of FOMO, similar to what we felt with Bitcoin back all the way in April, on April 2nd, when we got the first big initial jolt in the market. That will likely signal that altcoins are ready to move. But we know that the two times that is most likely to happen is when Bitcoin revisits its previous highs, which would be 20,000 in this case, and then somewhere down the line, probably in late 2020 or early 2021, where we're going to have Bitcoin peak out at an exponential level. Alright, so at the current price range, I am still accumulating Bitcoin. I have my two general lines here in the corrective box here for when I'm going to start accumulating. So any time period down here, between here and possibly upwards to, we have a 30% box here marked on the chart. If we can get 35 or 40% down here, I'd like to take that as well, but I'm not getting greedy. 30% correction is the starting point of previous Bitcoin corrections. I'm going to take it there. I know some people would say, oh, don't be so eager, Nick, and this and that. Guys, I'm building my positions for the greater cycle. I'm not worrying about, oh, I might be down 10 or 15% next week. I don't care. I'm averaging in. And the more it stays low, the more I'm going to average in, because I know that this cycle is just beginning. So that's just my mindset. I just want to let you guys know, you don't have to be as eager, but again, at the same time, if you're trading for that greater cycle, though I can't give you guys financial advice, you really shouldn't worry about, oh, I didn't get it at 9,500, I had to buy it at 10,000, because if you miss out on the greater scheme of things, it's going to be much more painful. Now, we'll take a look at a few altcoins here. We've got the broader altcoin video coming up here very soon, guys. Taking a look at Ethereum here on the hourly. Definitely a nasty chart here for Ethereum. Again, I mean, Bitcoin has had a decent correction with all fairness, but it looks like this is going to come all the way down here towards around the upper $180 range and line up with the previous line of support. This is where Ethereum would be a buy for me. If we take a look at the Bitcoin comparative chart, I mean, it's just it is absolutely nasty. We broke through key support here. I mean, once we did that a day or two in, it should have become clear that we were going to continue correcting. But the question here is, where are we going to? So I would say that the last kind of range I'd look for here is 2 million Satoshis. So we're not that far away, just 100,000 away. And that should lead us right down, especially if Bitcoin continues correcting a tad bit, down towards the $180 to $190 figure, that upper $180 range we're looking at. Now, another thing that a lot of people have asked me for is XRP. Guys, to be fair, XRP has just been lacking in its momentum. I really see this possibly going down to a previous support range. Like, actually, this isn't going to give us enough price history here, guys. I want to go ahead and pull up on Bittrex. Yeah, so I mean, the range that I would even get relatively engaged in taking any risk would be 2,500 Satoshis. Worst case scenario, if I really start to see altcoins continuing to have one final flush, I would wait for 1,500. I think you might find something in between this range. Again, this is the range where I'd start to get optimistic, possibly build a position. But again, XRP is one of those players. Usually I just say to kind of wait off until the trend shifts. Wait until you see, slightly higher lows in this case. You can see here, for example, we basically bounced off and started to pick up momentum. You want to see a good green day before you really build a position in XRP. It's just because it's a momentum player. Wait for the actual trend to shift. Wait for the momentum to kick in. Wait for the volume to broadcast. And after that, it's a fun ride to the upside, right? I mean, that's what XRP has done time and time again, even on these shorter rallies. So again, we can't get accurate volume because we're looking at Bittrex. All right, so there's a few other more altcoins that I prefer to talk about, guys. Wanted to cover some of the big ones today. I want to get towards the key topic here. So Steem Mnuchin, who, ironically enough, I thought I was the only one who thought this. Even he himself, John Oliver, realizes that Steem Mnuchin and John Oliver look quite similar. I always see that when I look at him. But I've known about Steem Mnuchin for a while. Very big ties to the financial sector. And basically, he's been working as Treasury Secretary for the United States under the Trump administration. Now, again, the one thing that I hate, but is a reality of most politics, is that you tend to have very powerful people as part of your board, or basically your cabinet. And in this case, they've got Steem Mnuchin, who is a establishment individual in the financial sector who is representing as the Treasury Secretary. And one thing that he talked about as of recent is regulation on digital assets. Now, in his statements, again, I'm not going to play the whole thing here. You guys are welcome to check it out. I'm going to leave it linked down below in the description so you guys can watch it yourselves. But basically talked about regulation of digital assets, and this included not only talks in regards to Facebook's Libra or the general corporate cryptocurrency that is Libra, and then also regulation of digital assets, and they had mentioned Bitcoin. Now, one thing that concerned a lot of people is that, very similar to Trump's tweet, he referenced back to Trump's tweet that basically mentioned Bitcoin being based on nothing, and that they were going to start regulating digital assets. And I think people have kind of paired in that they're going to go hard on cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum, ones that, again, are not in the realm of, well, I mean, even though, yes, Ethereum technically was an ICO, it's been kind of delegated or separated from the other securities that have been raised, or a lot of the ICOs out there, what might be deemed as securities. And as well as that, these central corporate cryptocurrencies. Because people, most of the regulatory agencies out there, from the CFTC to the SEC, I mean, the major branches, and even I would say the Federal Reserve, realize that cryptocurrencies are not controlled by anyone. They are, in a sense, an autonomous currency. They are non-correlated to anything. No one owns them, and no one can just simply mint them out of thin air. It takes actual hard work and mathematics through the miners that people purchase to actually obtain Bitcoin, and it's operating under a sound protocol. So the problem here is that Steem Mnuchin had mentioned there's a new financial task force that is a combination, similar to what we've seen on the international stage with cryptocurrencies and other types of regulatory agencies, that is coming together. It's bringing the SEC, the CFTC, the Federal Reserve, and I think a few other branches as well of both monetary policy management as well as governance in the sense of finance. And they're working together to try to regulate the broader space of digital assets. Are they going to be able to do much to Bitcoin? No. And this is my major point here. This is much more of a war on the central currencies like Libra. To just put it simple, it's a war on Libra at this point. And the reason it is that is because the United States does not need anything potentially disrupting the US dollar right now. The reason being is that they're already having enough worries between other international currencies. In this article here, for example, it talks about what's quote-unquote a currency war. You'll see that the United States is kind of in a panic mode right now. Over the last few years, a lot of countries have been basically inflating their currencies, and in doing so, it's in a competition of exports in this case. It's basically making it cheaper. It's basically making it more inclining for people to do business in your country or buy from your economy. But you can see that there's this whole kind of pressure. If you actually, I won't dive too much into the article, but they talk about, for example, not only all the tariff wars that are going on right now to try to price against this, but also you have, for example, in Forex markets, a lot of regulation being brought up. And this is, again, not an area that usually gets talked about much, usually operates quite fine and autonomous on its own. But the United States is now starting to ramp up its efforts to build fair standards in regards to Forex markets, and it's trying to stop any kind of major currency competition that could stand the test of time to the US dollar. We already know that there are some kind of wink links that have started to show in regards to the US dollar. For example, have known that China has been experimenting with new currencies for a very long time. And not to mention as well, there's a lot of different factors at play. I think, for example, the petrodollar as well is starting to slowly come to an end as we start to produce at home. And also there's just a general supply glut across the world, right? In the sense of oil that's available. And hats off to that. I'm happy that the petrodollar's over, or almost over. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the United States is still one of the strongest economies in the world, actually, in the sense of GDP. It's pretty much on par with a little bit larger than China, still the largest country in the sense of its economic output. And in the sense of its power on the world stage with its military prowl and the technology and advancements that the United States make, that's, I think, a big reason why the US dollar is as strong as it is, even though it has lost so much value over time and has held up quite well against other comparative currencies. So again, I think this is being overhyped, guys. The United States is not in a terrible situation, and I don't think Trump or anyone on their board of directors or basically in his cabinet believe that they're actually going to be able to regulate Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Centralized cryptocurrencies like Libra can easily be regulated to smithereens, and they can be shut out of ever competing with the United States. And it all has to do with the fact from their sole decision to be a blockchain consortium, to not be open source, to not be open for anyone to run a node. Because the moment you do that, the moment you are actually having any kind of trusted entity like that, the government can stop it. And that's a very dangerous scenario. So anyways, want to go here. Last bit of news here for the day, guys. It's going to be a relatively short episode. Is to talk about Bitcoin. Yet again, another Japanese exchange facing a cryptocurrency hack. Now, this happened a little while ago, but they finally released the numbers of stolen Bitcoin, totaling an average of around $27,800,000 on the platform, or 3 billion yen. Now, this was made up of a few different cryptocurrencies, over 5,000 Litecoin, almost 12, or I'll rough it off to 11,000, almost 11,000 Ethereum, almost 2,000 Bitcoin Cash, and over 1,200 Bitcoin. I'm not going to dive too much into the details of this, guys. The good news is that they are reimbursing people, and this is why a lot of exchanges have insurance policies. But I'll mention two things. One, I would rather not have hackers of the world continue to have these huge jackpots where they get to steal a bunch of money. Because, quite frankly, at the end of the day, we need to get to the key second point here, and that is that there should never be centralization of funds. I mean, this is not going to be the norm, guys. This cannot keep happening. You know why I say that? Because the currency that was stolen, for example, it seems, I think to any individual, 1,200 Bitcoin would be a lot, and $27 million would be a lot of wealth. But what we're not taking into account is that if this exact amount of crypto, the same amount exact of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, whatever, was stolen 10 years from now, this would be one of the largest hacks in history. Because this market is going to grow exponentially over the next few years. We are going to multiply over and over in value. This market is going to be worth so much more. And if you think the incentives aren't good enough now at 27 million, just wait till you'll be able to get $1 billion by breaking into an exchange and stealing user funds. Let's see if your insurance policy will be able to cover that. No, I really don't think it will be able to. And sorry I get kind of heated up about it, guys. I think it's part arrogance and the side of exchanges, and then along with that as well, it's part in the sense of convenience for us. We really need to get not only better about managing our own keys, managing our own crypto. I've really had a big 180 on this position over the last few years because I've seen just how many great innovations are going on behind the scenes that are making it practical to still be able to access exchange services, but also have custody of your keys. And that's what we need to work towards. We need to work towards a solution where people can become their own bank, have management of their own funds. And I can tell you all, even though it sounds difficult for a lot of people, the benefits of managing your own money far outweigh the negatives of being your own bank, right? We can make it easier over time. It is not going to get easier to fight against hackers. Hackers find very unique and great ways when there's a huge incentive and basically a pot of gold in a sense waiting for them at the end in regards to hacking centralized exchanges. The only two that I really trust to this day are Coinbase and Kraken. Maybe even Binance, maybe Bitstamp. There's a very few select players, but there's very few that I keep my money in, personally speaking, guys. Even if you have two-factor, even if you have all that, doesn't matter. It's best to have it in your own wallet. It's better for all of us to be distributed so that there's no central point of hacking. So it cuts the incentive. It's just simple game theory, guys. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a great day. I apologize, I'm like burping or having like a hiccup or something. Hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are. I'd love to know what you all think about this. What do you guys think about the Bitcoin hack? Do you think this is yet again another bump in the road and we're going to have more of this over the future, or do you think it's finally going to start pushing us to change our tone? And what do you think about Steem Mnuchin's comments? I'd love for you guys to go check out the video. Again, I will leave it linked down below in the description. And yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on it, guys. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the crypto space, and after a pretty bloody week that we've had in crypto over the last 7 days, I hope that we'll possibly see some green and continue through on the uptrend. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Hope you all are doing well, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.